not so much in how many cases you file, but how many you get resolved for fair value. It's not just the amount of the money, but the speed at which you can get it. Some of my greatest victories were not the multi-million-dollar settlements. It was in the workers' comp arena, getting a person 10 weeks of back pay at $175 a week, which was the maximum back then, because the insurance company didn't want to pay it.
Overall, the enemy is the insurance company. We're trying to, that's the person that we're going up against constantly. But doing it the right way is such a huge thing that we have to fight for, especially right now.
Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know, for our audience, running is a crime. And it's basically soliciting directly to injured people based on some way of getting information. There's a lot of different ways that they get it. And a lot of firms, it's incredibly expensive to do it the right way. You've been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of money making sure that you don't do it the wrong way and inject yourself into it. But people are cutting these corners and they know it. I had a friend of mine that, a friend of a friend, he was in a collision and they didn't even call the cops. There was no record of it. And they still got solicited the same day. I have no idea how that's possible.
I have no idea.
And they know it too.
Yeah.
Because, and this is my tip to the audience, ask for the contract. Send me the contract. I want to know who you are, because when you call them back and start asking questions, they know.
Yeah.
And they'll block you. They know what they're doing is criminal.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy part.
Well, and the state bar is not doing enough, and that's what ticks me off.
Yeah.
I had to, back in the day where they had the advertising committee, none of the attorneys that were on the advertising committee at the state bar actually advertised. Mike Bagley was in charge of it, former Drew Eckel attorney, and I had to hound Mike saying, put me on it. You need somebody that does this to give you insight on ways we can help the state bar be more efficient. The state bar is more concerned with the attorney well-being, the attorney's mental state, than they are protecting the general public. Right. And I understand there's a balance there, but they're not doing anything to go after these runners.
They almost seem resistant. There's active pushes of people on committees. Yeah. And they said, no. That's so odd to me.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. There's a recent case, it was in the Court of Appeals, that basically said they're the only ones who can enforce it.
Yeah.
No matter what we try to do, which is shocking. But we care about this. And you want to do it the right way, and it's so easy to do it the wrong way. One of the things I say a lot, the problem with this industry is you can make millions being bad at it.
Yeah. and there are people that are bad at it.
Yeah.
So for the injured consumer, do your due diligence. Yeah. Look at their website. If they say they do divorce cases and bankruptcy cases, criminal cases, and personal injury, you do not need a jack of all trades.
Right.
Jack of all trades, master of none. You need somebody that does this kind of work day in, day out. And I encourage people out there, take the phone challenge. See if you can get the attorney you see on TV, you see on the billboards, you hear on the radio. See if you can get them on the phone. A lot of the attorneys you see out there don't even live here, don't even have a license to practice law here. That, to me, is fraudulent, misleading, yet they're capable of doing it if they have an attorney that is related to the firm here in Georgia. But you don't want...
You got an address and some guy who just passed the bar yesterday.
Yeah. You don't want somebody that's just good at advertising but horrible at the practice of law.
So what advice would you give? How would a client know that? I'm sure a lot of our audience sit here is going, well, I don't know, this guy seems nice. He says the right thing on the radio waves.
Yeah, again, see if you can get them on the phone.
Yeah.
See whether or not they've been recognized as an expert in the field. See if they've written a book on the subject. See if they teach continuing education courses. See if they're named a super lawyer, multiple years. And that's an honor that has been bestowed upon the attorney by other attorneys. See if you get to meet with them. Check their success rate. See how much money they've recovered here in Georgia. Who cares if you're the universe's biggest law firm? Who cares how many attorneys you have in New Mexico? What are the attorneys here in Georgia? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Or are you meeting with them? Are they helping you not only with the legal components to your claim, but working with you through the medical management? And so many people nowadays don't have health insurance.
Yeah.
And if they do, health insurance has become more of a catastrophic type coverage. People having to come out of pocket a lot of money for copays and deductibles, and it's difficult for them to get the care and attention they need. Do you have an attorney that's going to help you find a doctor that's willing to say, look, keep your wallet put up. I'm willing to do whatever testing, whatever treatment you need to get you well.
Right.
And they're willing to wait until the claim settles. And a lot of times they're willing to do that because of the reputation of the attorney that's handling the claim.
And I think people need to understand how rare this is. So I'm going to share this story, and you don't even know this story. So I wanted to meet with you for years, and I reached out to several people that were in your sphere, and they always kind of tried to angle something out of it. They'd be like, "Oh, if you do this for me or do this and that," I was like, "I don't feel comfortable doing that." And so I eventually got the courage. It's a good lesson for everybody to just reach out to you directly.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Hey, let's get lunch." And I was like, "He's just going to ignore this or tell me to shove off." And shockingly, you're like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I was like, "What? Okay." And so we had lunch, and it was just that was a game-changing life moment for me when it came to the foundation of this firm. But I hope people see the difference between not many people who've been doing it as long as you have would dare say something like, "Make sure you can get me on the phone." That's a crazy thing to say.
Well,
I need you guys to understand that.
It's so true, but I tell you the reason why. And I get requests from people that want to meet me all the time. I met with you because I knew you had the heart for your clients, and you're doing it the right way for all the right reasons. Yeah. And I want to help those people succeed as best I can. And we need people to, God forbid, at some point, I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. I want to know, that there are people that are going to take the torch, as you say, and do it for the right reasons for all these people because they legitimately need the help.
Yeah, and it makes a huge difference. I mean, I never really got the point of mentoring as well as I should have. And one thing about you is that you are very forthcoming with it. I mean, and you're very honest. And I appreciate that immensely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there's been 2 or 3 times where you've just reached out very non-judgmentally. You said, "Hey, Nick, have you thought about this? Just letting you know." And I was like, "Damn, what a great point." But people at a certain level, I really feel a reason why you and I have thrived is we haven't gotten to the point of feeling infallible.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys that I've seen rise and fall very quickly are the guys who are like, "We're here because I'm so brilliant.
Yeah,
and I'm just going to surround myself with a bunch of sycophants." And anyone who says anything different than what I think has got to go. And I feel like you and I believe the opposite. I mean, I try to surround myself with completely different opinions on things.
Well, and it's the old saying, the rising tide is going to lift all boats. And so I'm big on wanting to make sure if I found a success for a client, I'm not going to keep it a secret. I want others to know. Whenever I speak at continuing legal education events, I'm going to give people the documents, the framework, the turnkey. Here's how you do it, but here's why you do it, so they can take it, and their clients are going to benefit from it. If they're not hiring me, that's fine. Plenty of choices out there. Mm-hmm. But if they're going to go somewhere else and I can help that person, help that client, we all benefit.
So that's actually that's a great point because we try so many cases, and a lot of people mediate frequently, they call it kind of setting the measurement, right? Like that's how they come up with what a case is worth, is by people consistently trying it. And so our biggest enemy in many ways are lawyers who are settling for very bad money because they're setting the test. They're saying, well, these 1,000, because they track everything.
Right.
Well, these 1,000 cases I'll settle for an average of $30,000. Well, Nick, you're asking 80. You're crazy. No, I'm not. I'm just not willing to settle. Yeah. You just got to go to trial for it.
Because I'm not like those guys.
Right.
And that's always the fun thing when you get the defense lawyer beating down your door and say, "Hey, come on, we got to mediate." I'm sorry, I look back at my complaint. It didn't say a prayer for mediation. It said a prayer for a jury trial. So, if you're not willing to do that, and that's one thing about my firm. I've got people that are willing to go and try cases. And that matters.
It does.
They know who the guys are. They're willing to tee it up versus those guys that don't. But the success, I think, is not so much in how many cases you file, but how many you get resolved for fair value. It's not just the amount of the money, but the speed at which you can get it. So we're big on doing the things that are going to move the file along that much quicker for our clients.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, and I feel like a lot of people who get to your level are bad at knowing it. Do you feel like all the successes change you in any way?
God, I hope not. And I think the thing that keeps me grounded is continuing to meet with these clients.
Yeah.
And you see the effect that it has on them, that the wreck. Again, it's not just the injury. I mean, the paychecks stop, but the bills keep coming in.
Yeah.
The mental, the emotional suffering that goes through this, where they can't put food on the table like they had. It's difficult for them to keep a roof over their families' heads. Divorces sometimes, as you know, sad consequence of this.
Absolutely.
But if you're in there fighting the fight, and at the end of the claim, when you get vegetables out of the garden, or you get that cake, which was a lot for this person, to come in and
100%.
say, thank you. Oh, my God, that means so much.
I love that.
And that's how you stay grounded.
Yeah.
It really is. Again, get back to, the diminished value claim. Some of my greatest victories were not the multi-million-dollar settlements. It was in the workers' comp arena, getting a person 10 weeks of back pay at $175 a week, which was a maximum back then, because the insurance company didn't want to pay it. And having the insurance company pay me my assessed fees instead of having to take it out of that client's pocket. But that money meant so much to them.
People remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
It's so important to remember those effects, because I think people get lost so quickly on the numbers.
Yeah.
But, my goal always was to be never lose a trial. And then I learned very quickly that the people I admired lost a trial. And I was like, why is that? Well, because they tried, right? Mm-hmm. If you're only taking, these slam dunks or these cases that are not difficult, that's why you're going to always succeed. And so my first jury trial I ever lost, that client referred me 4 more cases. And I felt like such a defeat afterwards. But, she told me after the trial, she was like, you went to hell and back for me. Mm-hmm. No one else was willing.
Yeah.
And she appreciated that. And, I was incredibly proud of that. So I think it's important that it's not about never falling down. It's about how many times you get back up after.
And she became a raving fan.
Yeah.
Because she saw the attitude, the care, the compassion that you exhibited for her. And you worked hard. And to her, you were not just a file. And she could sense that.
Yeah. It takes bravery. It's something I talk about so much. I feel like something that's infecting not just our industry, but so many, is the lack of bravery, cowardice, and greed. Mm-hmm. It's really easy, it's also important to remind yourself that you don't know what you don't know. And so many people, resolve a case for $500,000 and they're doing backflips. Yeah. But they don't know that it's worth $10 million.
Yeah.
You should actually be miserable.
And that's where you have those that have been doing it for a long time on your speed dial, so you can call and say, hey, I'd love to bounce something off of you. And not having, as you said, the pride to be able to ask.
Yeah.
And there should be camaraderie, as we talked about. If you are successful for your client and it's something you need to share with other attorneys, do that. Don't get up if you're lecturing a CLE course, continuing legal education course, and talk about all your successes. That's not important to me.
I got a great story for that.
Tell me how. Show me how. Bring us in. Don't just use it as a, hey, refer me these cases and I'll take care of the client. Well, let's spread the wealth. Let's spread the knowledge.
It's funny, a lot of times when I get an opportunity that I didn't expect, and I feel like it's going to inflate my ego. I was invited to teach at Auto Torts a few years ago, and I was so excited. I was like, I've made it. I'm that guy. And I'm in my 30s, people are asking me to teach them. And I get up there with the other, the greats of the industry, and they're not talking about their successes. They're not talking about their multi-million-dollar results. Mm-hmm. They're talking about their failings and what they learned and losing cases they never thought they could lose. And just really, the humility in the room. I was like, wow, I need to grow up. Mm-hmm. I was like, you're so far away from having made it. And it was just incredible to hear these titans of the industry.
And everybody can learn from those failures too, because you can see if you go to trial, something that early on you could have done differently could have changed the whole dynamic of that claim. Yeah. And that's where, you learn, as you said, not only from the victories, but from those defeats. Yeah.
And I think it's important to constantly remind yourself of that, because that's why they call it the practice of law. Mm-hmm. None of us got it down perfectly. But I'm consistently reaching out to other people, for help, because you
Yeah.
have to. And you do. It's funny. I've focused on doing a lot of mock trials lately, and the juries teach you so much. These mock juries, because you don't know what you don't know.
Oh, focus groups. Yeah, extremely important because we see it through our lens as attorneys,
Yeah,
but you can get so in your little bubble
yeah.
that you don't see what really matters to the person that's sitting in that jury
Yeah.
box.
And you're
And it's
just
so important
spamming
here.
the law and the
Mm-hmm.
and the medicine, and they're just like, I don't
Yeah.
care, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a huge medical malpractice case, and we were just we wanted to know the number and what they, where were we going to win and things like that, and the jury just became obsessed with how she found her doctor.
Mm-hmm.
They needed to know that information.
Mm-hmm.
We thought it was completely irrelevant. I was like, what's that
Yeah.
have to do with anything?
Yeah. And, for a trial where the defense stipulates liability, you still need to go in and make sure the jury understands why.
Yep.
Give them the how, give them the mechanism of the injury, and then you can get to that. And TV's train them to do that.
Yeah.
The CSIs, they want to get in there and really understand the why and the
I wanna
how
see a show, baby.
before they get to it. Yeah. And if you're not designing your trials, your presentations in that 6.5 minute format that we're all trained now with the commercial breaks, you got to get in, get out, get to the point, but you got to let them reach that conclusion.
So I'd be remiss. I think most people are going to be tuning in for this because they want to know how you were able to do it for so long. So much changes so frequently. I spend so much time focused on AI and all these different changes and what's going to be important, what's the future, self-driving cars. But you've been able to kind of navigate decades and decades and decades of change. So what is the advice you'd give to people to make something endure, to last this long?
It gets back to keeping the main thing the main thing. I don't care how we do it on the back end from the claim processing. The focus has got to be on the client. Keep it client-centric, and you're going to do fine. The technology is going to come. Yeah, it'll make our jobs easier, but it shouldn't separate us from that personal connection. And I tell my staff, texts are great, emails are great, but I want you not to rely on that. I want you to get on the phone and talk to this person. My girls are constantly texting, on their cell phones. I said, you know what, it'd be really cool if you could pick up that thing and actually dial it and talk to somebody instead of just texting. We can't let technology have us lose that personal connection, the why.
There's so much of that's happening nowadays. I'm raising small children, that's the iPad kid, type of stuff.
Yeah.
How do we combat that? It's everywhere, and you've got a supercomputer in your pocket at all times.
Yeah, at dinner, when we'd come home, we'd go out a lot with the kids because their schedules are crazy. Yeah. And my wife, great cook, but she was better at making reservations. So we would go and do that. But we'd have the girls put their phones away. And at the end of the dinner, I would always ask them what color. And do you know what I was asking about?
No.
What color was the server's eyes?
No.
I want you to treat that person as a person.
Yeah.
You got to be able to develop that eye contact, look at them, listen to them, and then I want to know what color that person's eyes were when we get in the car. Because develop that personal connection with them, you're putting the cell phone away and you're being present in the moment. It's the old expression, be where your feet are. And I don't want them so dependent on technology. We lose those conversations. And we go around the table. What was the best thing that happened to you today? What was the thing that was most challenging to you? And you have that as a part of your core conversations, a great time to be with the family and develop that relationship with everybody.
One difference about you that I admire, your focus on faith and family. That's something that's really important to you. Is that a tenet that bleeds it all into kind of your end goals or your legacy or what you're building?
It's important to me, and that was part of my upbringing. I said my dad was a Methodist minister, for more than 50 years. And he and my mom, every time when we walk out the door, the challenge was, go make a difference in someone's life today. Be it something so small to recognize them. make them smile. To, person needs money, let's see how we can help them. Again, you got to have a purpose. And yeah, my faith is extremely important to me. I've had a lot of people don't know this. I've had a radio show, gosh, for almost 12 years now with the Atlanta market. We're on 3 stations right now called The Intersection, where for an hour I will play faith-based country music songs and tell the story behind the songs. And when you hear the why the song was created, or the why, the meaning behind the song, the next time you hear it, it resonates that much more with you. And so I want people to know I'm different in that sense, that I do care about my community. I do care about the people that we're working with, and I care about the people that work with me. And people can sense it if you don't.
Yeah.
And they should.
Absolutely. Something I've learned very quickly, coming from being relatively poor to successful now, is some of the most miserable people I know are rich.
Oh, yeah.
And so what advice would you give to people, because it's important to have a purpose. It's funny, a lot of people ask me, like, why are you in the office every morning? like no one makes you be here.
Yeah.
And I tell people, I was like, I'm late for work. Like,
yeah.
No one makes me be here. So, like, once money's not an issue anymore, how do you preserve your purpose?
It gets back to knowing who you're fighting for. It really does. I mean, starting in the insurance defense arena, you're expected to be there on Saturdays. It was just part of the work ethic that they demanded of you, so you get in all the billable hours. Every other Saturday, I'm in the office because I'm not going to be outworked by the defense lawyers, by the insurance company. And what a great time for me to call clients on Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, my God, you're in that? Yeah, I'm in the office. And it's not just about the money. It's about making sure you're taken care of.
I love that. And I know people know the difference. Mm-hmm. So I ask all my guests this to conclude. What does it mean for you to have won? So in your mind, what is the end game? When you're done with all of this, what will you feel that you've left behind? And what is your legacy goal? What is succeeding in your mind?
I want to separate that on a personal level and then professional level. Professionally, I want all the clients to know that we cared, that they had somebody that was willing to go to bat for them, somebody that was listening, somebody that understood what we were doing, why we were doing it. And know, too, that with some of these folks, we've made a generational impact. Not only with the money that we've been able to give them, but the fact that we treated them like a human being and let them know, okay, you've got the herniated disc. All you had was your back. Let's see what else we can do with your life. What other things can we help you do? It doesn't mean your life is over. There are things out there that you can achieve, and we want to help you do that. On a personal level, I just want my wife and daughters to know they're the world to me. And Daddy, Dad, for 3 daughters, yeah, I've got their back. And praying for the young men that come into their lives too. One of our daughters is married, but we've got twins that are in college. I want to know that they find a man of God that's going to be there with them, puts faith, family, country first and foremost. So those are things that are important to me.
I think you're on track.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, Gary, truly. Remember, everyone, when you put in the work every day, it adds up to greatness. Please like and subscribe. We release new episodes every 3rd Monday of the month. We look forward to having you back with us again soon. I appreciate you immensely, Gary.
Thank you. And I appreciate what you do. Absolutely. I can't say that enough. You're out there fighting the good fight every day. And I hope your clients appreciate that. And I hope your staff does too. Because there are a lot of bad bosses out there that don't care about their people. This man is different.
I appreciate that.
Thank
You're
you.
a big part of that. Thank you for joining us, guys. We'll see you soon.